Hello and welcome back. It's Chris with Elizabeth, and we are so excited to introduce our next guest of the day, Success on Your Terms. Who do we have?
We have Sherianna Boyle with us, who is the author, of 9 books with a 10th one coming out. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah. Well, we're so excited to have you. And just so people know a little bit about Sherianna, besides being an author, you are all about connecting mind, heart, and spirit. You are all about our emotions and how to detox them, navigate them. Maybe I'll let you talk a little bit about what you are all about. So Sherianna, I've never met you. We're having a coffee. I want to be your best friend. Tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I developed a system called Cleanse, and it's featured in all the emotional detox books. And it's a mindful system, 7 steps that I take people through. And what it does is it teaches people how to process their emotions. Then once you get into a state of processing, a whole world opens up. And then it's about, really understanding and learning things in a new way. And very often, here on planet Earth, it's easy to have fearful and doubtful viewpoints. But once you go into that state of emotional processing, your viewpoint changes and it's like looking at everything from a whole new lens. And it's really from a lens of pure unconditional love. So as you can imagine, when you have that lens, everything you see is different. The story changes, the narrative, the way you're going to handle something, the way you see something. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what I do.
Yeah. What does that have to do with success?
It has everything to do with success, really. I mean, so how I define success is a state of non-resistance. So it's everything to me is a feeling. Success is a feeling. It's not a thing. I know that we've been taught to have benchmarks and goals, and those are all helpful. But really, success for me, from an emotional detox viewpoint, it's a feeling that I get. And it's a feeling of confidence, and it's a feeling of strength, and it's a feeling of hope, and it's a feeling of love. And all of that happens in a state of non-resistance, because when we resist, then you have pain, then you have suffering, then you have doubt, then you have fear. So the more you can hold that state, that's how I define it, is then the easier it's going to be. Then you can allow things to unfold in a way that's more natural. And it doesn't beat your body up along the way, because when we resist, we do have physical feedback from that. We get tension, we get headaches, we get angry, we do things that we don't like, that we're not proud of, or say things. And that all kind of jams everything up.
Yeah. Emotions are big. And I mean, in Utah, I like you saying success is a feeling for you. And certainly our emotions can enhance that success, that feeling of success, but they can also hinder us. And what advice would you have for people who are feeling the emotions that are sort of hindering them, whether success-based or just what you're going through in your life?
So that's a good question. And I had to redefine everything myself, because I was in that same place for a long time. And I was having moments of success, pockets of success, but it didn't last. And then it didn't feel successful, because there was something else that it felt like something had to be compromised in order to stay there. Something in a relationship, something in myself. So I really had a hard time with the mindset that's out there until I developed emotional detox. And so what I would say to people who are feeling those emotions is I would call them reactions. So that's how we define them in emotional detox. That's not really an emotion, that's a reaction. So you're reacting to, it's actually a state of non-feeling, because feeling is meant to have movement. Right? So when you have love, you have movement. When you have joy, you have movement. When you don't have that inner movement, then you suffer. Then you experience those lower vibrational emotions. And if you stay there, then you can lose yourself there, and you become disconnected, and you feel powerless. And so to answer your question, I don't really see those as emotions. I see them as reactions. And the reactions are due to the fact that they're trying to let you know that you have emotions that are looking to be processed. So it's not even that the reactions are bad. They're telling you, they're like a trigger, and they're just there to say to you, you've got something coming up here that you need to sit with and process. And if you don't, you're going to keep reacting, and then you're going to keep coming back to that place. So as soon as you make that shift in your language, then everything changes.
Mm-hmm. 2 questions.
Yeah.
What does that shift in your language look like? And then as you were talking, I was thinking about, well, but they are okay. They're successful. That type of thing, that compare and despair that we do, and how to kind of turn the knob down on that one a little bit. So what's the language going inside our head? What are we saying to ourselves? What's it look like? What's it sound like? What's it feel like?
So in the emotional detox world, we say, what's coming up to be cleansed, right? Mm-hmm. So for example, if I'm having that comparison thing that you mentioned that we do, a lot of things, Elizabeth, you bring up a good point, and that we compare ourselves, and we also put other people up on pedestals. Yeah. We see it as a hierarchy. We want to get to that. And when I get to that, I have made it, right? But we know that when you get to that, you're gonna learn that didn't get you to, you've always been that, right? You just had a belief that you weren't there yet. So I recommend cleansing, which would be detoxing the reaction that of putting people on a pedestal. And people do that all the time. They put other people higher than themselves. So I would take that and I would cleanse that. When I put people as more valuable or knowledgeable or than me, then how does that make me feel? And that's a feeling that you're rerunning. So it makes you feel probably exhausted. I mean, that's an exhausting way to live. It always feels like you have to do more in that state, right? It's never enough. And sometimes it depletes you. So these are the things that we have to start to experience and feel. Once you feel them, then you're on the other side and you realize what's trying to develop in you, right? We're trying to develop courage. We're trying to develop inner strength and worthiness and self-love, and all of those things are attempting to happen, but those reactions, whatever it is, are getting in the way.
Love it.
Yeah. So with that, I know you had mentioned just a moment ago too the phrase unconditional love. And of course, you're talking about love for yourself, mm-hmm. right? And so when you look at those reactions and emotions coming at you from all sides, how do you begin to develop that love for yourself if you're just starting?
Well, I think that's a thing that is exciting to know that you haven't dove into yet, right? I mean, if you don't experience that, and it's not, and I also believe when you unconditionally love other people, you're also unconditionally loving yourself. I know that we want to put everything in a box, and we tend to go heavy on take care of yourself and love yourself and da-da-da. But part of that equation is learning to love other people unconditionally. And when you do, you are dabbling in unconditional love. Some people find it easier to start there, Chris. Yeah. They get that. I know what it feels like to love my cat, my dog, my kids, my husband, my whoever, right? I know that. Well, then begin there. If that's what feels like you can really sit with that and resonate with that, I would recommend there, because it is unconditional love.
And I know we're typically so hard on ourselves. So is it truly possible to unconditionally love yourself? How do you maintain that?
Well, that's a good point, because you do need a daily practice for sure. And maybe a few daily practices. I'm sure you guys have lots of them. It is, we do need to have practices in our life and and we have to apply them. We can't just have them sit on the table or, you know.
Oh, so it takes a little bit of work. Oh,
Work
Sherianna.
involved. Everybody. Oh, no.
You do have to apply them for sure. And sometimes you need support. You know, you guys are coaches, and I know you probably will agree with me. I think the old model of I'll go to therapy when I need it is gone, right? I think it's gone. And I think we're realizing that we need these supports all the time, not just when maybe we don't go as much. Maybe we space it out. Maybe we change the conversation that we're having. Maybe we try a few different things. But I think that old mindset of therapy is only for when you're going through a rough time, or coaching or whatever you're doing is out the door.
Yeah.
I agree with that so much. Yeah, I agree. I think because if you look at anything else in our lives, if you're going to eat healthy, you don't just eat vegetables on Tuesday and be like, I'm done for the month. I am done for the month. I ate broccoli on the second.
You're 50
I don't know.
I love broccoli. But with your mental health and with your mental health and your emotional health, I think you're right, Sherianna, the landscape is changing, and it's a lot less stigmatized, I would say, as well. Like the conversations that I am a part of and that I see and I hear, they feel a lot more loving, accepting, and sort of flowing. And yet within that, I still meet people who are very emotional, talking about their mental health, talking about their emotional health, or maybe not having the tools to do so, feeling even, I would say, shame, because they're like, well, I just can't handle this. This isn't like, and so how do you feel that, like, even though it's changing, do you still think we have a lot of work to do individually and as a society on our emotional?
I think that, yeah, it's not the work, it's the influences are huge.
Mm-hmm.
And we're being bombarded with fear messaging. And it's really difficult. It's like being in a storm and you're like, okay, can we hold up the snowballs for a little bit, right? Can I just clear my windshield and just have a moment, right? And so you really have to look at what's influencing in your life. What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you digging into every day? Because that will make it much more difficult. But yeah, I mean, I think definitely people they're afraid, and for good reason. A lot of them. There's some very real things happening in the world, but you're not powerless. That's what you have to remember. And don't be so quick to give your power up. Don't be so quick to say, oh, I don't have any, doom and gloom kind of thing. And I find some people who are actually those individuals who are really having a tough time are sometimes on an incredible verge of a breakthrough. Mm-hmm. Sometimes those people are actually, I have bigger moments with, because they're just right there and they just need to walk over that line. I'm sure you've experienced that too in your coaching.
Yeah. Definitely. And I got to go back to broccoli for a minute. Broccoli always takes it on the chin. Why?
It is one of my favorites.
It stinks up the house though. Every time I cook, the kids are like, "What is that? Oh, that's disgusting. What are you cooking?"
I'm your worst, though, in my opinion. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about that because I want to talk about rejection, and rejection plays a part in this, because you can walk around with a dialogue that's like, oh, they made me feel that way. That person made me feel that way. Can you unpack that and then also talk about how something that you feel or something society feels might be negative about us might actually be positive? For example, I love your book, like the anxiety book with the 5 gifts of anxiety and so forth. Why does it talk about why things aren't
the flip side of it?
Yeah. Some things are actual gems.
What was the first question again? I missed it.
About rejection.
The rejection piece, yes.
Yeah, and like, that dialogue you get in your head, like,
right.
Especially if you're sitting on a bunch of, I'm just, as an author, you sit on rejection sometimes.
Right.
And you're like, oh, that feeling.
Well, what I've learned from cleansing, from emotional detoxing, is rejection is often a sign that you feel unprotected. And I know that's a strange answer. Probably didn't expect that one, But when I hear rejection, I always hear someone's not feeling protected. So that is something to be explored, right? And it's a pattern that shows up in people. And so that is something that you have to feel. That is something, because these patterns happen when we're children, maybe even before that, maybe even they go through genetic lines. So immediately what comes to mind is there's a protection thing there. Someone did not feel protected. They did not feel taken care of, right? And I know we want to make it about the other person. They don't want me. They're probably going to go with somebody else and da-da-da-da-da. It's not about that. It might be after you cleanse the protection thing, but I don't know. That's the first.
I just got a goosebump feeling when you said that, because I faced rejection. I don't like facing rejection. And you reframing that for me and saying that there was a feeling of not feeling protected just brought me this like wave of peace. I was like, oh, I think I wasn't rejected. I was left open, left unprotected. And that has just done such a neat little shift for me. Like I just got goosebumps. So I really am grateful for this moment in this conversation. I'm going to come back and watch this again, or I'm going to call you on the side and be like, Sherianna, talk to me about protecting me. Yeah, I don't, Sherianna, but no, that was really, I thank you for that, because I feel like, you know, when you talk about, I love reframing things and taking another look, another perspective. One of the things that I know I really like about what you do, Sherianna, too, is you talk about how our emotions can serve us and help us, right? And it doesn't have to be. And so I'll let you talk a little bit about that. Although I think I didn't.
Well, let's just add in like that stigma we sometimes feel like if I have anxiety or depression, I've got my head down going, I hope nobody knows this about me, or something like that. And in reality, sometimes I love that one book. The Gift of Anxiety is a great book.
The 4 Gifts of Anxiety.
Four.
It's not 5, 4. That's okay.
But you're looking at me like, oh, I have another book to write. 11.
So what comes to mind is I sometimes like to tell a story in order to answer that question in terms of anxiety. So it wasn't too long ago, maybe last week, I could not get a good night's sleep. I was up maybe 3 nights in a row. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm usually a very, very good sleeper. And my heart was racing. I'm like, damn it, I've got anxiety, right? Damn it. Because I were, and then I got some insight. And I can get, like the protection thing just dropped into my mind. Usually that's spirit that drops in. All of a sudden, spirit drops in and tells me something. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was something that I was going to take part in. And it said, and I heard a voice and it said, watch that because it could be illegal. And I was like, oh. So I went and researched it the next day, and it's not drugs or anything. Please don't think bad things about me. It was just like this. It was very, very like something you would never know could be illegal, right? And so I looked into it, and then I talked to someone else. Before you know it, it was true, right? And I thought to myself, okay, thank you. Thank you for protecting me. That was not about no sleep. That was a warning. So I think you have to be careful. Once you start processing your emotions, you start really hearing things in a new way. And so I think that might answer your question, how it can be a gift in your life. That can save me a lot of heartache. Even just that feeling of not, signing an agreement or, whatever's going on in your life. If it's keeping you up at night, you got to listen to that.
Listen, definitely tuning in to yourself and having the confidence within you to listen, to trust your heart, to trust what you're thinking, to trust that gut intuition. It's real.
And you have to take other people off pedestals, because when I looked into it, the reason it even came up, came from people I really know and trust and admire. And I thought, well, they must know more than me. We always go there. They must know. They know, right? But when I heard that from Spirit, I thought something is up. And they were so happy. They were like, thank you. We had no idea. And I'm like, okay, well, now you do. So I actually helped them as well.
Yeah. Trusting yourself, though, it's not always easy, is it?
Yeah.
Because even you spend your life dedicating to trusting and learning and emotions, and yet you still have this sleepless night. And how do you know when to follow that instinct, or when to just, like, is there ever a time when you shouldn't follow that instinct that you have, that you should ever just block it out? Like,
I think you have to know the difference between a trigger and an instinct, right? And that's where that space of exploration. Am I being triggered because this is something in me, or is this an instinct in me? And sometimes it takes a little bit. Like, it was 3 nights of sleeplessness. What I did do finally is I really took care of myself on that 4th day. I thought, okay, girl, you got to rein it in. Either you're overworked or overscheduled, and I did like a magnesium bath, and then I went out in nature, and I just kind of really overdid it for a bit. And then that's when you can start to connect to your instinct. But it does require that, okay, I've had 3 sleepless nights. This can't go on, right? And it's out of the norm for me. So usually if something's in the norm, then that's a good time to go to your doctor, right? Because if it's chronic, then you say something, I might need like blood work or something. But this was I'm like a really good sleeper. So something was up. So you have to kind of learn to distinguish between the two.
Good. That's wise. Okay, with a few minutes left.
You guys are so beautiful. I'm just having so much fun with you, and I love this.
Thank you for being here, and you're beautiful too, and your books are beautiful. And I think what I'm going to do with Sherianna, since she's got almost 10 books now, we'll make a list that goes with this so people can find them rather than hold them all up. But
because we're sharing success. We're sharing success. So we want to celebrate your successes, as well as, we're here talking about success. And within that, how do emotions and emotional detox champion and relate to success? So just to circle back to that. So we will share your successes. All 10 books are going to be listed, and you're giving one away, aren't you, Lovebug? What have you got for us?
So I thought, being the fact that anxiety levels are so high, I would give away Emotional Detox for Anxiety, which is great because it's got the cleanse steps. It's written in the back, right out for people. And then my next book, this one comes out in 2022, early like January, February 8th.
We're all getting postponed right now. It was scheduled.
Did you get postponed? Did you get?
But I'm sure I will. Yeah, we're all getting kind of pushed to later dates. I don't know, but it gives you a nicer runway in pre-order. But
I think so.
That's a good book that you've got. So let me just remind the audience to register for our giveaways. You do need to be registered for the summit. So go to besteveryou.com/global summit, and we will draw names from the people who register for the conference. We are streaming live in Facebook and LinkedIn, but you do need to register to try and win a copy of your book. And what's your website these days that you want to I know you personally. Which one is it?
I have two. So I have SheriannaBoyle.com, which is my author website. EmotionalDetoxNow.com is where I have all my community work. So community cleanses. So basically you can go through the cleanse with me live on Zoom in a group. I'm there on the platform at least 4 times a week live. So, yeah.
And then your podcast, let's give that a shout out.
Don't give that a shout right now, because that is on hold. I just pressed the link this morning and it wasn't working. So
past guests and their links, shout outs to your podcast because they're out there.
Yes, I know.
That's the one thing I want to talk about that too, just in a little bit more to go here. Maneuverability, because you maneuver. Do you want to talk about that? With your success, you maneuver.
Oh, I'm maneuvering.
We all maneuvering. It's not
all about maneuvering it right now.
It's like this, but it's like this, and life isn't like that exactly, is it?
It's not. I do believe I have a very strong faith. Elizabeth knows that, and I I have such interesting experiences in my work that really validates that faith. And so I really trust when something lands in my lap, right? And so some things landed in my lap, and it just sort of went from one thing to the next thing. And I just kind of go with it, right? I look at it as, okay, thank you. Here it is. I didn't look for it. And so that's what emotionaldetoxnow.com is all about. It's actually a team. So for the first time, I have a team that I work with, and we're really, it's fascinating. You know, a big team. I mean, I'm learning a lot. It's official. I'm officially a businesswoman.
Yes, yes, girl.
It's official. It's official. I have a company, and so that's kind of fun to say. Yeah, I know you've been, and we're gonna do things. We're gonna do a lot of things, but it is a lot of maneuvering. I'm learning a lot for sure. Very different than book writing, because book writing, you're alone. I can be an introvert. I don't have to talk to anybody, which I love, and I can come out sometimes, but then I can go back in. This, I can't go back in, right? People are counting on me. I'm counting on others, and it's a whole different ballgame.
Beautiful. Well, we'll have you back and you can talk more about it. And we really appreciate you being here with us on our Global Summit. Hold that book up one more time before we go.
Oh, the new one?
Yeah, the new one coming out.
The new one coming out. Everybody pre-order.
This has 135 emotional detoxes in it.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Yeah, those are
that one. All
right. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to our audience for listening to Sherianna. And we will see you again soon, friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.